It's time as a collective, we really all start to rise. And the way in which we do that is by supporting each other. So this is the first of many long form videos that I'm going to be sharing with you on my YouTube channel. It's been a while that Spirit has been nudging me to create long form videos for YouTube because that's just the guidance that I've been receiving. So now I'm going to start giving you what Spirit desires me to give you in various different long form videos and trainings. So yeah, hi, nice to meet you. My name's Mel M. Rubin. I've been on my conscious creation journey since around about July 2017. And just to go a little into it, so you know where I've come from and where I am now. I won't be doing this in every video. However, it's good for you to get to know me. So when I started my journey, I was at my rock bottom in every way, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and financially. And my personal growth journey, my spiritual growth journey, and my business journey, which led to the creation of my freedom life, all started at the same time. And it started very selfishly, I have to admit. I desired more money. I was in a very, very low spot financially. I was in 32 grand's worth of debt and I was living paycheck to paycheck. Although I had a very good job at the bank, I wasn't getting paid enough to be able to live my life. And I was 25 and a half, and I'm an Aquarius sun, and I'm also a reflector in the human design. So freedom and being able to live my life exactly how I desire is very important to me. So I started an online business journey, which ultimately led me on this very deep journey to self. And I soon realized that the creation of my external freedom and the life it was that I desired externally required me to really clean up what was going on internally. You see, our external reality is simply a reflection of our internal reality. It's all energetic. So it's really important that we become very aware of this and that we very honestly look in the mirror at ourselves when it comes to our lives and different bits in our lives that get to be cleaned up through cleaning up what's going on within our internal landscape. So I went on this journey, and ultimately I was going through this deep alchemical work that I'm going to be sharing with you today without even realizing I was doing it. I guess in a past life, I knew this stuff. I guess I brought this over and I knew it, and it was just a natural thing for me because this work comes naturally to me. I'm here. I've got a left angle cross of refinement within the human design. So I'm literally here to support my collective in evolving and expanding and refining things throughout their life. And naturally, this kind of work comes very easily and effortlessly to me, which ultimately enables me to support my tribe in doing exactly the same when they decide to join my world and work with me and all of that good stuff. So through me going through this work in a natural sense, of course, I had mentors that I learned from through books and videos, and I took things that resonated and I left things that didn't. Naturally, I just followed my intuition when it came to that through being like, yep, I like that. Yep, I like that. Yep, I like that. I'm going to use that, make it into my own. And anything that didn't resonate, I didn't judge the other person. I was simply like, okay, well, that's not my truth. And that's not my truth. And that's not my truth. So I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to take what resonates and I'm going to use it for what I desire to use it for, right? So ultimately, this allowed me to create my freedom life. I started living my freedom within 1 year. And this was through manifestations that I couldn't even consciously comprehend. I manifested a redundancy, and I've manifested an inheritance, and I've manifested various different homes. And this current home that I'm living in right now, it took me 2 weeks to manifest. I manifested my dog, who looks like a red dragon, who was my red dragon in the spiritual realm that came into this physical reality to protect me. May sound a little bit woo-woo to you, but the deeper you go into it and the deeper you experience the magic of manifestation and the magic of yourself through this alchemical process, you'll be like, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense, that makes sense, that makes sense, that makes sense. So I've manifested so many different things, and I've created the life it is that everything that I've ever desired, and called in my people, my weird and wonderful and amazing and expansive and deep people into my life and into my business, and various different things into my life because of this alchemical work. And the whole point of alchemy, right, is to transform something into something else. Maybe you've heard of it before, alchemy, turning lead into gold. And that's essentially what it is, right? So through the internal alchemical process, what we're doing is we're turning the lead into gold in respects to the negative, dense, unhealthy, toxic energies that are within us, and we are transforming them and turning them into gold, which is uplifting, positive, healthy, expansive, attractive energy, right? Whereas the lead would be contractive energy, and it attracts all of the darkness and all of the shit that we don't want in our life. The positive energy is expansive and magnetic, and it pulls everything that we desire into our life. So this is alchemy, right? Now, when it comes to the importance of alchemy, if you really want what you say you want in your life, this is really important. And if you're noticing that you are not getting the things it is that you want, then alchemy is something that you really get to focus on, right? Now, this journey is not necessarily easy. However, it's only hard until it's easy, because it gets easier. And what we really get to focus on throughout this journey and throughout the hardships that we face, and the icky, sticky stuff that comes up, and the blocks, and all of the horrible, quote unquote, bad emotions that come up, because they're not really bad. We simply assign a meaning to something. And people say that negative emotions are bad because they don't feel good. However, they're not bad because they're guiding us towards feeling good. They're guiding us towards our truth. And the aim of the game, and we are souls having a human experience, and I truly see this experience as a game. This is a game in which we get to master ourselves as the human, and ultimately master the reality it is that we are creating by learning the fundamentals that I have learned, continue to learn, and continue to teach you through my socials. And we go deeper the deeper you join my world. Okay, so the importance of alchemy, if you wish to create the life it is that you truly desire, not only in the material sense, but also within your relationships. And this is the most important thing, right? We are humans, and humans are social, and we love love, and we love intimacy, and we love connection. However, we can only meet people as deeply as we've met ourselves, right? So if you're finding that your relationships are shallow and toxic, and they haven't really got any real substance, then what you get to do is lovingly, I'm saying this lovingly, I love you and I want the best for you. This is why I'm sharing this energy with you. If you desire deep and connected relationships and you're not getting it, then you really get to look in the mirror and take ownership and accountability for where you're not going deep within yourself. Because most of the time, through my observation and also through my experience, because the relationship with myself until I was about, I mean, it was getting, I started my journey when I was 25 and a half, and I guess my relationship started getting really deep when I turned about 28. My Saturn return came, of course. So we're only really able to create deep and expansive and nourishing and supportive relationships as deep and expansive and nourishing and supportive as we are with ourselves, right? So if you're finding you're not getting it from other people, then take a look in the mirror, because your relationships are simply a reflection and a mirror as to how the relationship is with yourself and how you treat yourself and all of that stuff, right? So alchemy is so important when it comes to creating everything it is in our lives. And if we find that things keep going wrong, look in the mirror, because you're the magician, you're in control of all of this, and you get to change things by changing yourself. Change starts with yourself, right? So A huge part of alchemy is integrating and transmuting the shadow, right? A lot of the times we run away from our darkness and we run away from our shadow and we run away from the pain and the negative emotions. And we've been taught to suppress them because it's bad and we don't want that. And me. But like we just, as a collective, a Western collective, pretty much, we've been taught to suppress the quote unquote negative emotions because apparently they're bad, and they're not. And I'll keep saying this, they're not. They're simply a direction of where you get to go, right? So integrating and transmuting the shadow is key. Now, what do I mean by integration? I mean bringing it into your psyche and your awareness of knowing that as a soul having a human experience, you have the whole fucking universe inside of you. You have the good, the bad, the happy, the sad, the light, the dark, the funny, the boring. You have everything inside of you, right? Even the shadow, even the darkness. And when we suppress our darkness, eventually it's going to come out like boom, and blow up in some which way or another, like a volcano. And when we integrate it, we become very aware, okay, it's there, yeah? And then what we get to do is we get to consciously deal with our shadow in ways that best suit us as an individual. And there's various different ways that we can approach it, right? And it really all depends on the person and what feels right and good to them. And I'll go into certain aspects with you in a bit. But yeah, integrating the shadow is very important, and being aware that we do have darkness within us, and it's okay. It's okay that we have a dark side. It's okay that we, most important, that we healthily deal with the darkness that we have within us. Because when we do not healthily deal with this, that's when it comes out in an unhealthy way. And that's when it negatively affects the people in our lives and also negatively affects our life, right? And we don't want that. We want to be living a happy and healthy life. So it's really important that we learn how to integrate our shadow and also at points transmute the shadow. And what do I mean by transmute? I mean essentially making the shadow a better energy and using it for our benefit, yeah? So turning it around and turning the darkness into light, turning the negative into a positive, okay? Now, as I mentioned earlier, alchemy and transmutation has done so much for my life and has really allowed me to build everything it is that I've ever desired. And like I said, it's not been easy. However, the beautiful thing about this whole process and this whole journey is it's really allowed me to land back into my power and cultivate and maintain and strengthen my power in ways that I couldn't have even comprehended when I first started, right? I'm strong, I'm sure, I'm confident. I know who I am. I love myself, and I set my boundaries effectively, and I look after myself effectively. And because of this, and because of the way I ultimately treat myself and the way that I put myself first, this sets an example for everyone else in my life and ultimately attracts all of the people and all of the energies that I desire into my life. And if I notice that certain energies are not for me, lovingly with compassion, I keep my distance because I'm not vibrating at that frequency anymore, right? And the more we move through this alchemical and transmutation work, the more we can really see when people are not at that vibrational frequency that we're currently at, and the more we can stand strong and hold strong and not lower ourselves to that frequency, however, encourage people to lift themselves up to our frequency if they so desire to be in our world, right? Now, there's various different ways to alchemize, and what you really want to be doing is you want to be learning how to alchemize on the spot, which requires much self-awareness of your internal reality and really moving forward in full consciousness with no apologies and not really worrying about what people think. And I'll give you an example here. The other day I was in the shop with one of my friends, and we walked out the shop and I was going through something internally. And when I walked out the shop, I did the alchemical work on the spot, because the thing is our energy, that's what it's the magnetic field, right? And when we've got this whatever's going on within us, that distorts our energy field, which ultimately throws stuff in the manifestation process that we don't want, right? So I noticed this happening within me, and as we walked out the shop, I stopped and I did the alchemical work on the spot, not caring what my friend thought. Fortunately, I mean, she's already on the path, so she got it, and she was there to witness me and support me. However, even if someone wasn't, I'd still do it. If they didn't understand, I'd still do it. So I was there and talking to myself and talking to the anxiety that was going on within me, and really giving myself the nourishment and the encouragement and the support that was required to lift me up out of that state. Now, a lot of the times people suppress it and they move on, and then maybe that leads to a panic attack or whatever, something negative that may come up, right? And we want to be working through this and ultimately letting go of this energy and dissipating this energy as soon as possible. So really learning how to do it on the spot is really important. And at first, once you're learning this work and going through the other points that I'm going to be sharing with you, once you start to land into the knowing of this work and really becoming aware of your internal environment, as well as trusting yourself in the process, because we all do it differently. What I'm sharing with you today, these are the fundamentals. And I was sharing with a lady within my community the other day, because she asked about somatic movement, which is one of the points on here, so I might as well go into it now. One of the points for alchemization, we can use somatic movement because movement shifts energy, right? And it moves energy, it moves stuck, tense energy. So she asked me, how do I do somatic movement? Because whenever I try, it doesn't seem to work. And the whole point of somatic movement, and it's different, we can all approach it differently, right? Some people stretch, some people dance, some people shake their body, I approach it differently depending on how I feel, right? And that the most important key aspect here with somatic movement is to really listen to your body, which is what many of us have become so disconnected from. We're really only moving through this physical reality with our mind because this is how we've been trained. However, the power is in, firstly, learning how to control your mind and befriend your mind and program your mind in a way that works for you in an uplifting, positive sense. And then secondly, connecting to your body and listening to the guidance of your body. And then thirdly, landing into and dropping into your soul and its guidance and the guidance of the higher power, right? So when it comes to somatic movement, I said to the beautiful lady in my community that I don't pertain to be an expert in anything. I know so many different things and I can share so many fundamentals with you. And what I would highly encourage you to do is take what resonates and leave what doesn't. And also try for yourself, because we're all different. We're all so very different and we all approach things in so many different ways. And I mentioned about the somatic movement. I just listen to my body and I tune into my body to see what's going on, where the tension is, where the emotion is. And sometimes when, like, I was on a walk the other day, I'll be walking and there was this anxiety in my chest, and I was just like moving as I was walking. And again, the more comfortable you become within yourself and the more you learn to just not give a shit about what people think about you, because it really doesn't matter what people think. It's really all down to the way that you feel and think about yourself, and also the way that your internal environment feels. So I was on this walk and I'm like moving around to open up my heart center, to stretch it, to move the energy, and then moving in that sense, right? Just really listening. And it really supported and helped me in that. And through listening to my body, I was able to just do whatever. And somatic movement doesn't look pretty most of the time. It's not like it's this beautiful dance that oh, look at me, I'm flailing. No, it's literally, you're going to look weird in some points, and that's absolutely fine. And if you're not comfortable doing it outside in the public like I am, then feel free to do it in your home. So somatic movement can support your alchemical process and the release of emotions. When you are moving, however you're choosing to move, emotions may come up, right? You may laugh, you may want to scream, you may want to cry. That's okay. You can make noise with the somatic movement, and that is highly encouraged because noise also moves emotion. And when you're, if you're doing a somatic movement exercise to get pain out, just say you've got pain in your leg and you're stretching it, what I would encourage you to do if you feel called is let the sound out, whatever that sounds like. It's different for everyone, and it's different for the certain amount of pain, but pain has sound. So if you really tune in and listen to your body and the pain that desires to come out and really feel where it's coming from, it really supports the release of that pain, which ultimately supports the alchemical process, because the alchemical process doesn't necessarily always need to be conscious. We don't necessarily always need to know what's going on. The point of it is the transformation and the transmutation of the energy within to bring it from the low vibrational to the high vibrational. Okay, so we've covered on the spot, we've covered somatic movement, we've covered sound release. Journaling is a way in which you can consciously alchemize and work through things, and this is where the alchemical process is happening when it comes to the reprogramming of your mind and the way that you're looking at it. Okay, everyone journals different. There's no right or wrong way for any of this work. It's really all finding a way that works for you. And when we first start this journey, we're like, what the fuck do I do? And we're continuously outsourcing our power to other people. Like, how do I do it? What journal prompts? And all of that stuff. When really and truly, the best thing that you can do is really listen to yourself and have an understanding of what you get to work through and how you get to move. And the whole point of this journey is to learn how to trust yourself and to really learn how to bring the power back to you so you can maintain, cultivate, and expand on that power. And yes, sometimes you may need to seek out guidance from people. However, what I would highly encourage you to do is not make them your guru. Do not make them your guru. Do not make them your God. They do not know more than you about you. They know what's worked for them. So just like I'm sharing this, I don't know what's best for you more than you do. No one knows what's best for you more than you do. And the more that you learn how to trust yourself and trust your power and tune into your intuition and your guidance center, which is your body and your heart and your soul, then you can move forward in the best way, right? So journaling is really going to enable you to consciously comprehend certain things and alchemize things and reframe things and look at the silver lining and look at the solutions and look at the positive aspects of things. And then we've got feeling the feelings. Whoa, this one's an important one. And this is important because a lot of the times we've been told to suppress these negative feelings, and that's not good for us, because when we suppress them, it stays in our body and it stays in our energetic field, which ultimately creates density and it stops us from rising, essentially, right? And we don't want that. We want to rise. And the more we move through this alchemical work, the more we feel the feelings when they come up in the first instance, and also when they're ready to come up, because there's different aspects of our life where people are mirrors to the healing that gets to be done, right? And when feelings come up, instead of suppressing them and ignoring them, it's like, okay, well, I see you. And in a conscious and healthy way, working through them to alchemize and transmute and release and let go of the energy, and where a conversation gets to be had depending on the situation and the person and the relationship, if boundaries need to be set, if wants and needs and requirements need to be cemented out so the other person knows what it is that you want, need, and require out of the relationship to move forward, then those conversations get to be done in a healthy, respectful, loving, and compassionate way, right? You cannot meet negativity with negativity and expect to get positivity. No, love wins overall. And this might not make sense to some of you right now. However, the more you deepen into your journey, the more you're going to know this. And I say this to the people within my community with the things that I teach when it comes to the personal growth. You cannot shame yourself into growth. You cannot hate yourself into growth. You have to love yourself and be compassionate with yourself and be kind to yourself. And the more you're able to do that with yourself, the more you're able to do that with other people in your life. So feel the feelings, right? Let them out however you need to feel the feelings. It really all depends on the way that you feel in that moment. Maybe you need to scream in a pillow. Maybe you need to cry. Maybe you need to stomp. Whatever feels right and good to you to get it out, trust yourself and move it out of your energy field. And you're going to know when it's gone, right? And typically emotions only stay and move through our field for 90 seconds, right? So if it's any longer than that, you're holding on to it, you're giving your power to the emotion, and there gets to be some kind of accountability and responsibility there to let it through. And cry it out, scream it out, let it out, let it go, right? Let it go, let it go. Yeah, sorry, that singing part wasn't amazing, but I'm better than that, I promise. Inner child healing, this is very, very important. And there's various different aspects and layers to our inner child. And typically our teenager is very fucking angry. So we really must be aware of this. And we really must nurture our inner child in the way in which we desired to be nurtured back then. And this is the whole point of reparenting. You may have heard this a few times. This may be the first time you're hearing this. Reparenting is essentially giving ourselves the love and affection and care and compassion and support and encouragement that we desired when we was younger. We're being the mum that we always wanted that we never had, and we're being the dad that we always wanted that we never had, and we're talking to our inner child in the ways in which they need, right? And we're acknowledging them in the way in which they need. And it really all depends on where they're at in their life as to how they feel, as to how we really get to support them in that way. And it's being aware and really tuning into your body. And like I said, as the soul having a human experience, you hold the whole universe within you, right? So yes, the light and the dark and the happy and the sad, but also your past self and your future self, as well as your current self. So this is why you have visions for the future, right? This is why you have a feeling in your heart as to what life it is that you deserve to live, because your future self on the highest timeline is already living it. You remember your future. It's already there because they are inside you and that experience is inside you. And just as that is, your past self is inside you too, that gets to be healed, and you are your own healer. You're going to come across guides and mentors and teachers and healers like myself, like other people. However, you are your own healer. And this is why I'm always guiding you back to yourself and always reminding you of the power that you have within yourself, and always bringing you back to trusting yourself and your own intuition, because you have all of the answers within you. Okay. So how to alchemize, you've got on the spot, journaling, feel the feelings, inner child healing, somatic movement, and sound release, right? Now, the biggest part of all of this is choosing yourself, right? And a lot of the times we don't do this. A lot of the times we turn our back on ourselves to make other people happy, to people please. That's a trauma response, by the way, people pleasing and overgiving. So that's definitely something that gets to be looked at and alchemized as well. So choosing yourself is very key. And I go into this deeper within an experience that I've created called Embrace, and you can gain access to that via the link below. But yeah, a lot of the times throughout our life, we've continuously turned our backs on ourselves, and it's not our fault. This is the way that we've been trained, especially as women as well. We've been trained to put our families before us, our partners before us, our children before us, and we lose our identity and all of that BS. When in actual fact, the more we choose ourselves, the better it is for the people within our lives, because we lead by example first and foremost for how they get to treat us, which ultimately creates a better relationship, because there's no resentfulness and there's no bitterness or disappointment or inner negative feelings about what's going on in the relationship. And then it also sets a precedent and it leads by example in the way that the people in their lives get to choose themselves as well. Because when we choose ourselves, first and foremost, over everyone else, we also get to respect that other people get to choose themselves first. And when they do choose themselves first, we're like, okay, cool, I get it, because I choose myself, I get it. I'm not going to take any offense to it, right? So choosing yourself is very important, and ensuring that you are around people that respect you in choosing yourself, because if they don't, that's a huge red flag. And then we go to trusting yourself, right? Trusting yourself is key. You have all of the answers. You have all of the answers within you. It's simply a case of asking yourself the right questions and giving yourself enough space to receive the answers. Yeah. Most of the time, building up the trust within ourselves takes time, and our intuition and our inner guidance is like, fuck off, I'm not talking to you. You haven't spoken to me, or you haven't listened to me in years, in decades. Why should I speak to you? So it's really important that when we start to learn how to trust ourselves and listen to our inner guidance, that we give ourselves the space for it to come out, right? And then choosing joy. How do you get to choose joy within your daily experience, within your life experience, within all of your relationships, within everything? Within everything. Most of the time we are focused on the negatives. Most of the time we are thinking of the worst and worrying and all of that stuff. How is that giving us anything good into our experience? It's not. So choosing joy is very, very, very important. And I actually really go deep into this throughout the whole month within a membership podcast that is available within the Growth Shift community, all about choosing joy in various different aspects of life. So if you desire to go deeper into that with me, then that's available within the Growth Shift community membership podcast, which you can have access to. And we do have a 7-day free trial as well. And then also returning to love. Returning to love is key, because love trumps all. And it may not seem that way at the start of the journey, because whenever we've opened up our heart and it's been hurt, it's like, well, my love didn't help that and didn't help that. Is because you was around the wrong people, and because you didn't love yourself enough to protect yourself in all of the ways by setting boundaries and the wants and needs and requirements, and not allowing people to tread all over you and all of that stuff, right? So really returning to love first and foremost for ourselves, because the more we return to love for ourselves and the acceptance and the compassion and the kindness for ourselves, the easier it is for us to be able to do that for other people, right? So yeah, this is the outline of becoming an expert in internal alchemy. And when we do that, when we become the expert within our own experience and what works for us, and listening to our intuition and our guidance, and tuning in and doing the relevant alchemical work as and when is required, then we can truly create magic in our lives. Because life is magic. And we are the magicians. You are the magician. You are magic. So it's really important that you learn this alchemical work so you can create magic. I love you so much. If you love this, please pop a like, pop a comment, let me know what you got from this. If you'd like to work with me, I have options via the link tree that's available. And if you've got any questions, you can reach out to me on social. My socials are currently all managed by myself, so I'll get back to you in the DMs. And yeah, I love you so much, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.